Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's start.
Before this story begins, if you believe family should never betray you like this, hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to hear doesn't feel real. My name is Nora Bennett. I'm 35 years old, and the night my family threw a party to celebrate kicking me out was the night I finally took my life back. I remember pulling into the driveway of our house in Austin, Texas, expecting the usual tension. Another lecture, another reminder that I wasn't doing enough, that I wasn't enough. But that night, something felt off. Then I saw it. My belongings were scattered across the lawn like trash. Clothes, shoes, books, kitchen supplies, even personal things I hadn't touched in years, everything dumped outside like I didn't matter. Music blasted from a speaker near the porch. Relatives stood around laughing, holding drinks like it was a celebration. And then I saw the banner hanging behind them. Leave. Stop using us. Don't come back. Right next to it, a phone propped up on a flower pot. They were live streaming it. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. Then my aunt raised her glass and laughed, saying I must be some kind of family record for being over 30 and still useless. My father looked straight at me and flicked food off his plate onto the ground near my feet. "That's your last free meal," he said. No one reacted. Not my mother, who stood there pretending to be uncomfortable. Not my younger brother, who watched in silence. That's when I understood something that changed everything. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't anger. This was planned. They wanted to humiliate me, publicly, completely. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I pulled out my phone, took a photo of the lawn, another of the banner and house, and one more of every smiling face under those lights. Then I turned around, got back in my car, and drove away without saying a word. That night, I rented a small apartment across town. It wasn't much. Old walls, narrow hallway, a door that barely closed properly, but it was quiet. By the time I carried in the few things I managed to grab, it was almost 2 a.m. I stood in the middle of that empty room and listened. No voices calling my name, no demands, no criticism, just silence. At first it felt strange, then it felt peaceful. I sat on the floor because I didn't even have a couch yet, took off my shoes, opened my phone. I don't know why I started scrolling through old photos. Maybe I needed proof that I hadn't imagined the last decade of my life, but what I found wasn't memories. It was evidence. At 21, I was smiling in a grocery store parking lot holding bags I paid for with my entire paycheck because my parents were struggling. At 24, I paid the electricity bill after a shut-off warning, while they complained about money like I hadn't already fixed the problem. At 27, I covered school expenses, clothes, and books for my brother so he could have a better future. Every time something went wrong, I stepped in, quietly, constantly, without recognition, and every time I needed space, rest, or even basic respect, I was told I was selfish. As I kept scrolling, I saw years of receipts, repairs, groceries, bills, emergencies, transfers. It was all there, and what shocked me most wasn't the amount, it was the pattern. I had become their system, invisible, reliable, expected. Then, in the middle of all of it, a new message appeared from my brother. "Mom's stressed. Bills are overdue. Can you help?" I stared at it for a long time. Less than 24 hours after being humiliated and thrown out, I was still their backup plan. Not because they loved me, because they needed me. That was the moment everything shifted inside me. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened a new bank account, changed every password, removed my cards from shared platforms, cut every connection they had to me. Then I started organizing everything. Years of receipts, bank transfers, messages asking for help. For the first time, I wasn't reacting, I was taking control. Meanwhile, back at the house, things started falling apart. Without me covering bills and managing problems, everything unraveled faster than anyone expected. The internet got cut off. The water heater failed and flooded part of the house. Repairs were ignored until they became disasters. My father, who always acted like everything was under control, started slipping at work, missed deadlines, lost his temper. Within days, he was fired. My brother, who had always depended on structure I quietly maintained, missed deadlines and failed an important exam. My mother's messages changed quickly, from guilt to desperation. We might lose the house. For years, they called me a burden. But without me, they couldn't even function. 2 weeks later, my mother asked to meet. We sat in a small cafe across from each other. She cried, apologized, said things got out of hand. I didn't respond. I just pulled out my phone and showed her the photos, my belongings on the lawn, the banner, the live stream. How else was I supposed to understand that? I asked. That's when the truth came out. Bills were overdue, the mortgage was behind, my father had no job. They didn't miss me, they needed me. Then my brother said something that stayed with me. We didn't think you'd actually leave. That was it. They didn't want me gone. They wanted me broken. They thought humiliation would force me back. More obedient, more grateful. Instead, I left them to face reality for the first time. I placed a stack of papers on the table, years of expenses I had covered. This is what family looked like when I carried all of you, I said. Then I made it clear. I'm not coming back, I'm not paying, and I'm not fixing this. I stood up and walked away. Days later, my mother showed up at my apartment. She brought a small plant, a box of pastries. At first, she acted kind, proud even. Then she placed an envelope on the table. Inside were bills, warnings, payment notices, and one line written at the bottom. You can still do the right thing. I looked at her and finally understood. Nothing had changed. You don't miss me, I said quietly. You miss what I did for you. I handed the envelope back and opened the door. She left, taking everything with her, even the plant. A week later, my father called. For the first time since that night, he said things were bad, that he regretted what happened. For a moment, I almost believed him. Then he said, if you understand what's at stake, maybe we can move past this. Not an apology, a request, that was all I needed, so I did something they never expected. I contacted a lawyer, years of financial contributions, documented, organized, undeniable. I sent them a formal demand for repayment. Within hours, my phone exploded. Calls, messages, anger. You're destroying the family. No. They destroyed it the night they turned my pain into entertainment. I blocked them all. Then I posted one sentence. The person you called a burden was the one holding everything together. Now she's gone. After that, silence. Over the next month, I heard what happened. They sold the car, cut expenses, took jobs they once looked down on. They survived, just not the way they wanted. And that's when I understood the truth. Revenge isn't loud, it isn't dramatic. Real revenge is walking away and letting people face the consequences you protected them from. Sometimes I still think about that night, the music, the laughter, the sign, but I don't feel pain anymore, because that was the night they lost control over me. And if you believe no one deserves this kind of betrayal, hit that subscribe button now, because some stories don't just expose the truth, they teach you how to take your power back.